Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to playoff racing action on Thursday night here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. The lights are out, and it's time for some short track racing at Iowa Speedway for the .88 mile course. That is going to be our cutoff race of the round of 12 here for the Stars and Stripes Cup Series. Season 5 has been a blast to watch, but this round is about to get chaotic as, again, this is our cutoff race. It's short tracks, and a lot of points could be gained as tonight here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me is Zach Hall and Robert Moyer running productions in the background. Zach, Iowa, our next destination here for the playoffs.
Yeah, very interesting one too here with the next gen Cup Series car. Iowa not always, used to these Cup Series cars coming to here, but I tell you what, I think it's going to put on a good show. This track very, very technical, has multiple different grooves that are available to the drivers out there, and very bumpy and all about keeping the tires underneath you. So it's kind of the combination of almost a bigger, speedway style race, but in a short track style.
After last week's amazing run from that of Kyle Bowling, who found himself winning and getting into the next round without even having to worry at that of Homestead. I mean, that's an incredible story, Zach, just on its own, let alone seeing the 44, who's had a very rocky start to the season, but the last couple of weeks, he's found that confidence and now is locked into the round of 8.
Yeah, I mean, he knocked it out the park there at Homestead, man. That was a great way for him to start his playoffs because, like you said, it's been kind of a season where he was in the top 12 in points, and to get there anyways for the season, we saw how tough it was in the 12 names that got here. So just to get here was an accomplishment, but I think he didn't have everything he wanted to, coming into the race or coming into those playoffs that he needed to had that feeling to go for the championship. That win last week, though, that is going to give him the momentum. I think that could propel him to be a real contender when we head into that next round to see who will be that Final Four. But it all starts here tonight to see who will be the final 8 or the 8 drivers that move on from this round of 12. And I tell you, with the points so close, you look at drivers like Chris Essery. He's the first driver out, 2 points out. I mean, he led the points pretty much for the majority of the regular season. If he was to get knocked out, that would be a big storyline.
It really would, as well as some other heavy contenders that are outside looking in. That of Christopher Wade going to be finding himself being that of 5 points out, tied with Thomas Ogle, who is 5 points out. Jason Gratton, though, the biggest hill to climb. He is officially 10 points out from that of the tied drivers of Ken Campbell and Brandon Pierce that are both locked in currently inside of our top 8. Kyle McCoy going to be, as well as Scott Rickard, going to be finding themselves tied for that of 5th in points, as they're going to be having a small little buffer to work with of just 4 points for themselves. Then that of Josh Robinson's going to find himself 4th in points with a little bit of a bigger gap for that of Ross Tatum and Cameron Sarton going to find themselves tied 2nd in points. And the only driver officially locked in is Kyle Bowling. And Zach, with the amount of drivers that showed up here tonight, every single driver that is not officially locked in, it can possibly get knocked out of the playoffs.
Yeah, the nerves have to be up because just like you said there, Sam, with the amount of cars we have, everybody has a chance to go and get knocked out of this round except for Kyle Bowling. So there's 11 drivers out there that know nothing is guaranteed. There is no, guarantees here getting in, and really here with Stars and Stripes, with no stage points available out there, you don't get that chance to kind of gain on your drivers throughout the race. You have to be there at the end of the race, and that is when it's going to count. And with some of these gaps, I mean, even look to Kyle McCoy there, like you said. I mean, he's only got a 4-point gap back to Essery. I'm telling you that those drivers like that, they got to worry because, their championships could be on the line for going for another one, including him and Scott Rickard, who are both champions past here, Stars and Stripes.
And Scott Rickard's going to be coming in with a little bit of confidence for himself as he has found himself in victory lane here at Iowa. And the last time these drivers ran here in this series with the Stars and Stripes, it was back in season 2 when they were running the truck vehicles. As each season they've ran a different vehicle. As season 1 was the ARCA, season 2 was truck, season 3 was in that of the Xfinity vehicles. Then they were in the Gen 6 Cup car last season for season 4. And currently we are in the Gen 7 Cup machine. But Scott Rickard found himself winning and leading the most laps for that race back in season 2. That went into overtime as they had 5 cautions in total. Zach, here tonight, based on what I'm hearing from the drivers, I wouldn't be surprised if we had a few more cautions than they did that of almost a year ago.
Yeah, I really wouldn't be surprised either, Sam. A lot of drivers out there saying this car is definitely on the looser side, so a little bit harder to control with that rear end of the race car coming off the corner. So I think those rear tires, mostly the right rear tire, is going to be the topic of subject for drivers most of the night here at Iowa, trying to keep it underneath them as that run starts to get longer and longer. Those rear ends are going to get a little bit more slick and slick. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see. But right now, Ross Tatum, he's looking very strong atop that board with a 23.64. And Kyle McCoy, past champion, he's right there in second.
As we're watching that of Andrew Medlin on screen, he is done with his times. Just going to be practicing coming into pit road and just running those laps. Zach, pit road was seeing it on screen there when drivers got the end of practice. Some were even testing and we're missing pit road. That could be an aspect for these drivers to watch out for if we get into a long green flag run, as here comes the driver that's on the biggest outside looking in. That of Jason Grattan, rocking a little bit of pink for breast cancer awareness. This 91 needing a hero run, being just 10 points out from the cutoff line, but even more going to be over that of 17 points from that of Cameron Sarton, as well as Ross Tatum. They're top of our points leaderboard.
Yeah, this would be important right here for him to kick off this qualifying session. So let's see where the 91 can place himself with that second lap time. It looks like he will move up the board, and I think he'll most likely position himself in the second spot there with a 23.666. So great time there from the 91 there, Jason Grattan. And he needs, like you said, 17 points all the way to Cameron Sarton, second in the points. You know, you look at the guys in the cut line, you want to gain on them, but you need to gain on everybody because you can't have anything guaranteed with how close these points are. The driver that you're trying to gain on could be the driver that finishes, second into overall in points. So it is that close. Every point is going to matter coming down to the end. And even another big thing, these guys, for getting a clean race, 0x and 0 incidents here in iRacing, you get 5 extra bonus points. Those could be the make or break points that keep people in or knock them out.
Yeah, and those points easily can be thrown away if you hit the wall too hard, if you make contact with another driver, if you touch the grass. Simple mistakes could cost you 5 bonus points, and with how close the points are right now in tonight's race, those bonus points could be if you're in or out going into the next round. As qualifying is done, let's take a look at our qualifying results here tonight, as it is that of the Cyhawk 150 here at Iowa. As the drivers here tonight, some of them rocking rivalry colors, some are going to be rocking that of Iowa State colors in the red and yellow, while others going to be rocking that of the Iowa University black and yellow schemes. With the driver getting their first pole this season, it's going to be the 21 of Ross Tatum. With second place going to be Jason Grattan, our biggest driver in the hole. He needs a fantastic run to make it into the next round. With the 3-time champ Kyle McCoy going to be in third place, Brandon Pierce going to be in fourth, Andrew Hess fifth, Thomas Ogle going to be in sixth place, same with Andrew Medlin in seventh, Derek Offerman in 8th. Scott Rickard's going to be in 9th, with Dylan Glass finishing out your top 10.
In the 11th position, it's going to be Dylan Grimm. 12th is going to go to Christopher Wade in the 53 on the outside, looking in for that playoffs. 13th is going to be Zach Kreitz. 14th is going to be the only driver in the playoffs feeling safe here tonight. It's Kyle Bowling. 15th is going to be Philip Chavez. 16th is going to go to the 31 and Trey Jackson. 17th is going to be George Kovacic. 18th is going to be the 4 Aaron Hill. 19th and the 24 Brian Lynch. And rounding our top 20 is John Dart.
Now, these are the drivers that need to make their push forward. That's going to be Joshua Robinson, going to be driver that comes in 4th in points, but he's going to be starting 21st here this evening with Travis Dart in 22nd. Doug Pierce going to be 23rd. Ken Campbell, he comes into the night being one of those bubble drivers. He's going to be mired all the way back in 24th position with Nate Lynch at 25th, but drivers deciding not to qualify. One of them being Cameron Sarton. Yes, he's top of the board in points, but that does not mean he's secured. He'll start 26th. 27th is going to be that of Ryan Lynch. Ed Perry in 28th, with that of Brian Burchett, finishing out our 29 drivers here tonight. Again, the difference between second in points all the way down to 12th is just that of 17 points, Zach, meaning that every single position matters so much for every single one of these drivers.
Yeah, that it really does. And with you saying right there, outside the top 20, I mean, Joshua Robinson starting 21st, Ken Campbell there 24th, and Cameron starting 26th. Those 3 are the names I have circled back there that really need to make an impression for, because all of the drivers that they're racing for those points are pretty much positioned themselves up near the top 10 or in that top 5. So It's going to be an interesting night to follow along, but I tell you what, the one thing they can count on, we got 150 laps here tonight. No stage breaks to give out any extra points, so they have time to be able to go up there and make something happen.
It's all going to be about staying on track, surviving. It's going to be the key here this evening as we're going to have another formation lap. We are at a short track, less than a mile in length is this course. Zach, Iowa, what are you expecting these drivers in the early going?
Early in the going here, man, I'm expecting them to settle in a little bit. You know, I know a lot of drivers are going to have those nerves of knowing how close these points are. If they make one simple mistake, it could easily slip away from them, and especially with that 5 bonus points for the 0 incidents, I think drivers are going to have that in their mind saying, I want to stay as clean as possible here tonight to get those 5 bonus points because those could be the critical ones that help push me through back at the end of this race. But yeah, tough ordeal here when you got 150 laps, especially for drivers starting out back. They got to be a little bit aggressive, but the drivers up front, I think they have right now the ability to be a little bit more calm, be able to find the rhythm here early in the going at this tough racetrack.
We're already starting to see some internet issues striking the 21 of Ross Tatum. He cannot afford to have these internet issues. We've also seen throughout this week drivers having iRacing connection issues, so drivers are hoping that those can be settled out. And again, just like the randomization of real-life racing where sometimes parts break, well, sometimes the internet can break. But tonight, for that of the Cyhawk 150, we're green. Who's making it to the round of 8? Let's find out. It's going to be Ross Tatum sending it into turn number 1.
Yeah, able to get out to that early lead here, and like you said, hopefully no internet issues plague in there as it seems to have cleared up. As all I say that, it looks like it comes back down the back straightaway, but he hopes that clears up here later in this race. But Grattan easily able to slide up in the second, and Brandon Pierce now in the third spot.
They're going to be finding themselves clearing up front. Top 5, all single file now, but it's going to be drivers jockeying for every single position that they can get. 6th on back, side by side, out of 6 rows deep. All trying their best. They were 3 wide for a quick second. They've cleaned it up now, and it's going to be Derek Offerman stuck on the high line. Same with Medlin, Wade, and others trying to figure out how to get low, but it's going to be the 0-5. Scott Rickard sending it through the middle. He wants every position now.
Yeah, always early to show aggression is Scott Rickard. He wants to get positions quickly here, but he gets back out to that outside groove there on the outside of the 54. Andrew Hess there as Offerman was able to clear him off the 4, but definitely looking for any little bit of grip there into that middle lane, and that's what this track offers. It has 3 lanes and 3 of the ability for you to really find that grip, especially down in 3 and 4.
As multiple drivers are already finding themselves with the loose conditions, struggling. Doug Pierce already in pit road after some damage that he's collected. Philip Chavez, another driver that has struggled, has lost plenty of time, but a driver scared to say it, but into pit road's the 94. Issues for Cameron Sarton.
Oh no, that is a big moment there for him. I'm unsure what is going on with that 94. Seems like just coming to pit road for really no reason. We'll have to see if he gets serviced on that race car, and it looks like they are jacking up, putting tires on, but definitely something going on with that 94 machine. He may be in a tough spot here leaving tonight.
Already going to be in pit road, and at this time going to take service, tires, get rolling, and going to be finding 1 lap down, could be 2 laps down. Sarton is still in pit road getting service done. He will go 2 laps down. Absolute misery for one of the drivers that we felt like was going to be the heavy favorites to try to go for a championship here this season. Cameron Sarton's redemption season might be coming to a conclusion here tonight.
Yeah, and I can confirm he's out of the race car. He is completely got out of there, and that means he is pretty much in the replay system now. So something going on there at Cameron Sarton. Looks like going to knock him out of this race early in the going, but man, that is a huge upset, especially for someone who came in here 17 points above Jason Grattan there in this 91 machine, who's out here leading. This switches things up, and that would really change up the whole perspective going into next week.
It would be an easy swap of Jason Grattan's in and that of Cameron Sarton's out. But up front, starting to see some big movers. Derek Offerman, who has kept it on the outside lane. We've been seeing it on our camera. That 20 machine has been ripping the top, and now up to 2nd place. Zach, you talked about at the top of the broadcast, multi-groove racing here in Iowa, and that 20, he is making that middle lane work.
Yeah, one of my favorite tracks out there for that multi-groove racing, and this is what Derek Hoffman's found so far. He's found that upper groove there, and especially down here in 3 and 4, he's even higher up the racetrack down here, and you'll see he gets side by side with Grattan and taking this lead with some power right here on this move. And when I look to run the high side here down to 1-2, it's a little tougher to run that outside there in 1 and 2. There's a couple bumps up in that 3rd groove, so you'll see some guys elect to take the 2nd groove instead of that 3rd one. But Derek Hoffman already showing early in the going That outside line strong here for the takeoff speed, but how will it affect the tires? That's what I'm questioning. You know, not seeing a lot of other drivers electing to go up there. Maybe they feel like that could be doing damage to the tires.
Yeah, that's kind of the traditional way of whenever we're at mile-and-a-half tracks, you're trying to save your tires. Usually you stay down low. Iowa, one of the short tracks that allows the outside lane to work, but when you're running that outer lane, more wear and tear is being put on those right side tires. And for the 20 of Derek Offerman, obviously he feels comfortable that he can continue to run the same lane, maybe thinking if he can pull away far enough, he won't have to worry about his tires, as other drivers that have been making some big moves. 0-5. That is Scott Ricker's been moving up, but you see back here the 21 being passed by Thomas Ogle. That of Ross Tatum, he continues to fall back. He's done this so many times, Zach. Whenever Ross Tatum qualifies up front, he just gives up so much time in the early going.
Yeah, it gives up a lot of track position and just, you know, I understand. I think a lot of times it comes from him managing the tires, trying to make the most out of those tires. But sometimes it's almost questionable if he gives up too much time in the saving of those tires. We'll have to see if it comes back around for him here. But this is definitely something that the 21 loves to do.
As that 21 machine will continue to figure out where he wants to place himself. Thomas Ogle, one of the drivers that's outside looking in, trying to move forward, as well as this 53 machine of Christopher Wade, mired back in 12th position. He's going to be trying to move forward as he's got being pressured by Zach Kreitz in the 46.
Yeah, Wade here, he definitely needs a big night too. Came on the outside looking in for those playoffs there. That second driver out of the playoffs there, 5 points down from Brandon Pierce, who's in that third or in that second spot. So, you know, going to definitely need to be gaining on the drivers up ahead of them, but you never know with how close it is here throughout the whole entire field. Like I said, you can't be focused on just one driver out there that's ahead of you. You got to be focused on getting the best position you can.
As at this current moment, 12th place with 53 lines. And you look at some of the other drivers. We talked about Ken Campbell struggling with the qualifying run. He is all the way back to 17th place for the 15. Now going to be making that pass on George Kovacic, or at least trying to make the passes. We're 15 laps into this run. Zach tires, they certainly are screaming at this point.
Yeah, they definitely will be, Sam. You know, the tires, I'm already seeing a good bit of fall off already from these guys. So, you know, our leader, Derek Hoffman, right here running a 24.55. He took off at a 23.87. So we're almost already into a realm of a second of fall off. And when you're talking about a short track, the shorter the track is, the less time you're usually going to have the fall off because of the distance around the racetrack. So 2 seconds of fall off here is much more than 2 seconds of fall off at a mile and a half. So it really can come into a factor quickly. And, you know, talking to a few drivers, it was one of those topics that the tires were definitely going to fall off into a major run here as they get going.
And right now, that of the 15 is going to be the furthest back of our playoff contenders. That's not on track at the current moment, except for all the way back to 25th position. Zach, another one of our favorites coming into this round, Joshua Robinson. I mean, a complete, utter shock. The 94 and now the 30. The 94 is still in pit road, 13 laps down, yet to get back on track. But Joshua Robinson back in 25th position, and he is 8 seconds off our leader. And if he falls any further back, could be in a threat to be going a lap down.
Yeah, this is a head scratcher for me. I mean, I look back to him. He had some great runs at similar tracks. I mean, even, you know, if you look all the way back to Richmond, he was a very strong contender there. That's a similar racetrack to this. I'm kind of thrown off here early by this pace being shown by this number 30 machine. And really, I mean, you know, he does feel, you know, I would say good compared to a lot of drivers, like especially Cameron Sarton, who's sitting on pit road. But still, he can't feel that good. I mean, only came in here 8 points above Chris Essery. And, you know, that could quickly slip away. I mean, it's still only 19 laps into this race, and definitely I feel like it'll come to him as the race goes on. But we'll see. Maybe this is looking to be a longer run type of run for him.
And speaking of long run, we're starting to see the pace up front as that of Derek Offerman's got some challengers now. He was up to almost a 2-second gap lead. Well, now he's got some headhunters behind him. Here comes that of the 38, the 7. Playoff contenders all stacked up behind the 20 machine. As here comes Scott Rickard on the outside. He's going to be forcing it 2 to 3 wide action as the 7 of Kyle McCoy sits in the middle. Jason Gradden's going to be trying to make some speed, slicing and dicing and put that of Brandon Pierce on the top of the board.
Yeah, this is crazy right here, man. Definitely falling off for that 20 machine as it's opened up the door now. Here comes Kyle McCoy trying to get the pass down on Pierce. Couldn't get the clear off of turn 2, but I think he'll be able to clear him here down in the 3, and he will as the 7 out front. Here comes Scott Rickard, too. He's looking to get himself up there, and all the pink banners starting to show up here later into the run.
Pink banners indicating to all drivers on track and to the viewers, those are your playoff contenders. There were 12 drivers in total that had those banners. And right now, you are seeing most of our front runners be those that are in the playoffs. Here comes Brandon Pierce on the inside, trying to go after Kyle McCoy. Kyle McCoy, season 1 winner here at Iowa. This race, 150 laps back then, he found himself only leading 44 laps of that race. Didn't even lead the most, but hey, at the end of the day, he got the trophy. And for this 7, we know he can be quick at the short tracks. It's really more of a comfort zone for the 7 machine, but when it's playoff time, that's when he shines. As the lights are out, Jason Grant gets a little bit out of shape for the 91 there.
Yeah, we went to Homestead last week, and I kind of felt like, the 7. I mean, you look at his past history at Homestead, he has just been lights out, and I kind of figured going into there, he would be that guy to beat heading into that race. He qualified on that pole position, but it didn't really ever come around for him on the longer runs. It seemed like he struggled a little bit there, so maybe tonight this will be the place to get it done for him and help move him on to that round of 8 to look and go get another championship. I mean, this guy, like we say, he's always just super clutch when it comes to the playoffs, and right now, out front once again in a playoff race.
And our top 4 are all playoff contenders. Technically, our top 5 is Thomas Ogle is holding off the rest of the field behind them, allowing our front 4 to really try to pull away as that of Brandon Pierce trying to figure out how to get in line. As a lot of these drivers trying to survive as we're 25 laps into tonight's race. We go a little bit further back where we find out of Andrew Medlin battling for just inside of our top 10, where that of Derek Offerman continues to go backwards. And for the 12, seems like he's feeling comfortable on the outside, but Zach, the fresh tires just seem to be a lot better on the outside run. As the longer run goes around, it seems like the inside lane is where you want to be.
Yeah, it does seem like that for sure so far from looking at this race. It seems like you can make a pass on the outside, but you don't want to be up there too long from what I'm seeing. And Offerman, he's the one that's really testing the extents of this outer groove, and we saw him go up and take the lead with it, but now slipping back to where he started now in 8th and going to be possibly losing this position to Andrew Hess here and Andrew Medlin in the closing laps. And yeah, like you said, that bottom lane just seems to be the better way to go here as that run goes on. And it just seems like overloading those right tires or right side tires there up on that top group, carrying more speed early in these runs definitely comes back to hurt those tires.
Those tires are going to be the main thing that we talk about over and over again here tonight. As we're 28 laps in, about halfway from when we were getting told that maybe drivers could think about tires and coming into pit road potentially, as they have 3 sets of pit road to work with. The driver that just lost 3 positions quickly, Scott Rickard in 7th place. I think he might have gotten into the outside wall, or at least he had to back off quickly to make sure he didn't hit the outside wall.
Yeah, he had a big moment. I went back and looked there myself at that, and he had a big moment going down into 1 and 2 here and lost the rear end and had to really chase it up the track, and it got up in that 3rd groove where there's a ton of bumps up there, and he almost took down the wall with him. Luckily stayed out of it, but did lose those 3 spots to Dylan Gribb, and Ross Tatum there is also sliding back now to that 7th spot is Scott Rickard.
Slides back to 7th, but again, moving up, it's Dylan Grimm and Ross Tatum. Tatum's still having some internet issues from 21, so it's kind of difficult to see what his times are exactly with the rest of the field. But when they do get clocked in, he's running very similar to our leader, if not slightly faster, is this 21 machine who gave up so much time. And Zach, I think this might be one of the first times that Ross Tatum giving up over 8 positions might actually work out for himself.
Yeah, it possibly could. Like I said, sometimes it comes back to bite him, but it seems tonight, it seems to be coming right back around to him. And overall, I mean, yeah, he dropped back to around that 8th position, but he only lost about 2 seconds of time in the overall scheme of the race. And at that time, it was 2 seconds of time to Derek Offerman, who is well behind him down that 20. He was getting challenged by Christopher Wade back there. So it just shows you, if you go out there and use the tires up, you can open up a 2 to 3 second gap, but that'll quickly reverse itself here in the next 15 laps. So these drivers holding on to what they got, but like we've heard from tonight, they got plenty of fuel here to do this race in a 1 stop. So it's just going to be the action of if they can get the tires there and how fast they can make the tires last.
Scott Rickard's going to be now falling to 8th place, but behind him, playoff contenders are being swarmed, and that's going to be Christopher Wade and others. This gaggle of cars staying side by side. Wade, Offerman, hold on. As a caution flags into strike behind them, it's Aaron Hale in the 4.
Oh, that is not good for the 4 machine there. Looks like he's going to be spun around off of 4.
And that happened right in front of the 30 machine of Joshua Robinson, who is still fighting to crack inside of the top 20. So we take an instant replay on what brought out our first yellow of the night. Watch out for the 4. Just trying to get a little bit too greedy here onto turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, and you can see this happen a lot here. As you can see there, the inside wall's kind of covered up that yellow line that's down there, but you can see their left front tire on that yellow line, and that is flat right there. Well, you can see the sparks even from the splitter hitting the racetrack. It really will make that car de-wedge and get you very, very loose like that. And fortunately for Aaron Hill, no contact there, but Joshua Robinson barely missing that in the 30.
And for Joshua Robinson, that is a terrifying moment to have in front of him because, again, if he finds himself getting any type of contact, that would take away his 0 incident point bonus points, which 5 points, that could bump him out. Again, that 30 machine comes into the night. He is going to be just outside of our playoff buffer by that of just 8 points. So that could be put him in a tricky spot as drivers hit pit road. Zach, we're only 35 laps into this race. Seems a little early in my eyes to take tires, but hey, maybe these drivers know something that we don't.
Yeah, with 4 sets of tires, they're going to be using that second set and only have 2 left in pit road. Now, from here, they can make it on a 1 stop here in pit road. So technically, should only need 1 set of tires here left, but we're 35 laps into this race. I think we're going to see a couple more caution flags with how this race car is handling here tonight. So wouldn't be surprised if they need those other 2 sets. And like you said, it is early to make this decision, but I think they knew if you stayed out here, you might be a sitting duck if the race went green for a bit.
As a lot of drivers going to be taking off and getting back out on track. Winning at a pit road is going to be the 7 of Cal McCoy. Jason Gratton's going to be in that 2nd place with Brandon Pierce. Ross Tatum, Dylan Graham going to be your top 5 here this evening. Well, we're under caution. Let's shout out one of our amazing sponsors here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. You see them in our top left blinking away. That is the iRacing iFlag. iRacing iFlag has an iFlag virtual flag system that does the same thing that you see in our ticker, blinking at you to let you know what the flag state is on track. Hey, if it's a yellow flag, green flag, you need to know instantly, and that's where iRacing iFlag comes in. As well, other great information that you could have as a driver that can allow you to have the best information to make the great judgment calls that we see on track for winning positions. That's getting yourself a digital pit board. Digital pit board gives you weather conditions such as track temperature, weather temperature, and plenty of more great information to make sure that you are first out on track. Go over to iRacingIFlag.com and use our promo code FreakyFast2022 to get yourself a discount on your next purchase today. Big thanks to iRacing iFlag as they are getting ready to get stacked up and ready to go. Zach, our first caution in the early going, kind of not surprised by it, but drivers touching the apron. I mean, that is something that I feel like a lot of drivers, it is practice that always helps with that situation. But I mean, we're always searching for that edge of speed. Zach, I mean, how easy is it to be touching the apron while you're on track?
Oh, it is so easy. I know myself. I'm a big culprit of that. I love when you can paint the line, as they would say, when you come to a racetrack. And what I mean by that is put that left front tire right against that yellow line. But if you get a little too much, that's the boundary you got to play is if you get a little too much of that, you get that left front tire on that flat, you have what happened to Aaron Hill. It just unloads that left front tire and just makes that right rear really load up, and from there it really gets very, very loose. So it makes it very tough when it's like that. But that's where the speed's at. So as a driver, you flirt with disaster almost right there on that yellow line. You got to get down there to find the speed, but if you get just that little too much, it can easily step away from you.
And drivers always trying to play that little balancing act at all times. As tonight, little update. Again, this is the cutoff race for the round of 12. 8 drivers will make it out of this round and will continue to race on. And it doesn't get any easier after tonight, as really this first round was the only quote-unquote traditional racetracks that we're going to, as it was Homestead and Iowa here tonight. The next round, it gets so much harder. Zach, it is Dover and New Atlanta before we head to Michigan for the championship race.
Yeah, Dover and New Atlanta, man. The combination of that, it scares me. I know that as a driver going into something like that, it makes you know that there's one race that you kind of have for sure marked down. Okay, I know what I can do in this one, but Atlanta's always the unknown, and even Dover can be the unknown. I mean, it's the Monster Mile, so you just throw in two wild card races, and we could have a very interesting Final Four.
Well, already tonight, one of our heavy favorites could be out as that of Cameron Sarton is still out of this race, still in pit road 34, make it 35 laps down, meaning it is wide open on who's going to be making it into the next round of the playoffs as we're back to Green Flag Racing here for that of the Cyhawk 150 at Iowa.
Early jump there for the 7 machine back out front, but here comes Jason Gratton there with the 91. He was going to look to the inside here. Here comes Ross Tatum also in the 21, maybe looking to make something happen here a little bit earlier on those tires than he did before, but also got that non-playoff driver, Dylan Graham. He's coming into the picture.
Yeah, Dylan Graham, he showed some great promise in racing action last week at Homestead. Kind of a lot of what ifs. He was, if he made the playoffs, as he was the first driver to miss out on making it. But he certainly has been shown in the playoffs. He would have been a threat if he had made it in. But up front, top 5, all staying single file as Ross Tatum doing a very similar drop back to go to the back, or at least to the middle portion of this field, as Kyle McCoy, Jason Gratton, they're going to be running this track up front. I'm curious also to watch Derek Offerman. How does the 20 want to ramp his way forward, as he kind of showed the way? Run the middle line, then the third lane, and see how fast you can rip it around the top.
Yeah, we'll see what he learned from that, because also when we come to pit road, a little bit different than, what you would have with normal races out there. These drivers have what we call black boxes that give us the ability to look at our tire percentages. So these drivers are going to be looking at those percentages from the tires from that first 35 laps saying, okay, I did this and it equated to this. So from there, maybe some drivers have learned a few things that'll say, okay, I need to push a little bit less hard out of the exit these corners to save that right rear tire. Or some of them will notice, maybe I didn't push hard enough. My tire wear was a little bit too good that I need to be able to use a little bit more of it. So we'll see who utilizes that knowledge that they had in the first 35 laps, but it's always an important time here as a driver to look back.
And when you're trying to focus on those little, small changes, it can be difficult at times when you're just trying to make sure that small adjustments are the key. But when you're at a short track like this, when you're quick on the throttle, quick on the brakes, getting back into the gas, out of the exit, you're trying to hit every mark perfectly. You can sometimes get into a lull period where drivers could be making mistakes of accidentally revving a little bit too hard. And it's always interesting to watch drivers that are in the middle of the field, back in the field. They kind of get into a killer mentality of sometimes they see a driver that can be faster than, just drive just a little bit too hard, thinking they can make any pass they want.
Yeah, it is super easy as a driver to get in that mindset. So you can't let that play into it. You gotta race your race, and that's what a lot of people say. You're not always out there racing the competition. You're out there sometimes even racing just your mental ability, because it's easy to get caught up in the emotions of the race and just push a little bit too hard here and say, oh, I need this position right now. But that position could come back to hurt you if you try to go for it at that moment. So I'm seeing Derek Hoffman here in his 20. He's not looking to make as many moves on that top group. He's holding to the second lane. I think he noticed, yeah, I was able to get out front, lead some laps here. But if I want to have some staying power for these longer runs, I need to be able to save my tires.
That's exactly what they're trying to do now, as drivers going to be side by side from that 9th on back, as we're seeing Derek Offerman making that outside lane work again. He's going to have that of Dylan Glass. And Dylan Glass, I'm curious on what the 16 is going to bring here this evening, as he is one of those drivers. He's a non-playoff driver, but these types of racetracks kind of fit in the wheelhouse of the 16. We've seen him run well on Tuesday nights for that of the Full Send Racing Series. Curious if any of that can translate over from that of the Xfinity car over the Gen 7s.
Yeah, I think it could, man. This car, even though it's very different than a lot of other cars, short track racing does transfer very well over still. So, knowing this track and being that style of driver, it can really help yourself when you come to places like this. So we'll see what Glass can do with that, but Andrew Medlin here in the 12, he's going to be looking to challenge the 44 Kyle Bolin, who is the only driver here tonight, I think, who just went out here and he's just he's just racing. He does nothing to worry about. He's focusing on that next round and just trying to go out here and continue the momentum most likely into that.
Yeah, that 44 is just stay up front, try to get at least a top 10 finish here at Iowa, but with that win last week, automatically locked into the next round. And I said it on the top of the broadcast, every single driver besides Kyle Bolin has a chance of being knocked out of the playoffs. And Cameron Sartin, with where he's running now, he's going to need practically every driver that's in the playoffs to finish either 15th or worse at this point if he wants to still make sure that he stays inside of the playoffs, which is highly unlikely, but it's not impossible to happen here tonight if a big one strikes here at Iowa.
Yeah, his hopes are definitely slipping away. He needs something big to happen for sure. And, you know, he's still sitting on pit road. He hasn't left the server, so I'm questioning maybe he'll try to get back out on track here at some point and try to get some points. But another thing I just even noticed here, we don't have Chris Essery here either tonight in the Tim machine. So that's a huge shakeup, too, for both those teammates.
Yeah, that is a massive deal because that means that it's practically a wide open door on who's going to be making it. I mean, Chris Essery was a driver that was just outside, so now it's between that and Christopher Wade, Thomas Ogle, and Jason Gratton on who is going to be taking that spot from Cameron Sartin really here this evening. And as well, for the 30 machine of that of Joshua Robinson, he's not performing well either. He's also in a very precarious spot of potentially being knocked out, as the 30 machine has had some scary spots of getting some incident points that would take away that 5 bonus points that you get at the end of the race.
Yeah, I mean, he had that one flash before his eyes, and, you know, being that far back in the pack, too, those are more chances for just that same incident to happen. Luckily for him, I think he did escape without getting any contact from that last one, so should have that 0 incident still intact, but that really, man, could come down to being the factor. That 5 points is huge. I mean, it's more than going out there and leading the lap, so you got to think of that, and staying clean is probably on a lot of the minds of the drivers here going into tonight, so right here, Ross Tatum continuing to do the similar situation they did earlier in the race, but a little bit farther back now to this 10th position, and you know, maybe losing a little bit more time than what he did in that first run.
Also, the more that he falls back, the more he can be trapped with the driver to his outside. As the more wear and tear on these tires, the more it's going to be difficult to make a pass cleanly unless you have a massive run. And without having any draft help on the straightaways, that is going to be hurting himself. As look at some other drivers out here on track, changing up their schemes throughout the season. Here's the 54 of Andrew Hess, bringing out fully the pink machine for breast cancer awareness, as other drivers behind trying to figure out what do we want to do with Andrew Hess, who another one of the rookies. We had such a large rookie class come in for this season 5 for the Stars and Stripes, and all of them really, I gotta say, the rookie class, this could have been probably the strongest rookie class we've seen in any of the Stars and Stripes series.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about last season's rookie class. It was, you know, intense with those guys coming in, but it just got up to even another level, in my opinion, this season. I mean, so many rookies came in here and have made big names for themselves with the veterans that we've had in here each and every season. I mean, you've seen guys like Andrew Medlin not make the playoffs. I mean, you know, that is a driver that, you know, has been a staple in the playoffs here at Stars and Stripes, getting knocked out due to some of these rookies coming in. So, man, it shows you the competition level, and it's very stacked when it comes to these guys here out on this racetrack, man. But, yeah, I tell you what, it's going to be an interesting night with how all these points shake out, especially with drivers like Jason Gratton running up in second and Joshua Robinson running back in 20th. So it really sets us up here for a wild round of 8 coming up.
It really does. And the fact that we're seeing Thomas Ogle running well, Jason Gratton running well, they could bump out even that of seeing Ken Campbell with where he runs currently right now. So anything is possible. We could see the potential of 3 drivers that came into the night instead of our top 8 being bumped out. At least we know 1. We could be seeing 2 or 3 more joining him, as Thomas Ogle in this 83 machine kind of running a special scheme. Again, tonight is the Cyhawk 150, and the Cyhawk 150. The Cyhawk is a college football game that happens between that of Iowa State and Iowa University, and you can see the different sides being shown, that of Iowa State on that left, and then Iowa University being on that of the right side, splitting down the middle of the White Claw machine.
Yeah, I like that. That is definitely some creativity there from Thomas Ogle. So looking good and running good so far in that 6th position, as he's going to need that too, as he was one of the drivers on the outside looking in. He wasn't as bad off as you know, Jason Gratton, who was definitely the most out there, 17 points back from Cameron Sartin. But you know, you looked at Ogle, he was 12 points. So you know, he's doing a great job right now, running in 6th, and it's going to be close between them, because I mean, you got, like we said, it's going to be the fight between Ogle Grattan and Wade here to see who pushes themselves in. So it's going to be a long, long night here, and only 62 laps in. And also can say, I know we had a few questions out there in chat. If you see at the top of our ticker, it does say pit for Kyle McCoy. He is not on pit road, folks. That is, I believe, a little bit of a little glitch there for us. So
Christopher Wade. I don't know what happened to Christopher Wade, but he is sitting in pit road currently.
That he is. That is very interesting. And doesn't look no contact or nothing from his machine either.
He pulled into pit road. I think he was having some internet issues, and he just decides to head into pit road, and now he's sitting there 4 laps down. That's now 2 of our playoff contenders sitting out. Christopher Wade was one of those that could have been outside looking in to push himself into the playoffs. And it looks like with that of Chris Essery, Christopher Wade now having issues. He now just disconnected. It is now Thomas Ogle and Jason Grattan trying to steal the final positions from that of Cameron Sarton and potentially Joshua Robinson.
Wow, this changes everything right here for us, guys. 3 drivers here already tonight. You know, Essery not here, Wade now disconnected, Sarton sitting on pit road. That's 3 drivers that it pretty much knocks out at this point. And this is going to be a breath of fresh air for some of these guys out there, such as Ken Campbell, Brandon Beer is right there on that cut line. You know, especially with a driver like Ken Campbell, who qualified back in 24th, has only got his way up to 11th. He's definitely probably feeling a little bit more confident now with a few guys having those moments.
And as the race continues to roll on, and there are no stage breaks, bonus points described in that fashion. The only bonus point you can get is having 0 incidences, and you can get 5 bonus points because of that. And with how close the points are, 5 bonus points could be the matter of if you're in or out of the playoffs. As we take a look here, riding on board with the 12 machine of Andrew Medlin, as he is going to be our driver cam this evening. See him in the bottom right, focusing as always. And the big thing here for that of Medlin is just stay consistent, stay patient, as we are 30 laps on these stints of these tires.
Yeah, definitely. This is starting to get to that point of the run where we've seen before, where a lot of drivers are starting to slip back, lose a little bit of time to their competition. So, big moment there from Medlin over the bumps, just holding onto that machine. And you got to see him there work the wheels. Now he's going to have glass in. Trey Jackson looking to that inside here, look to take that 12th position from him.
I love the fact that he cracked a smile and got giddy on the fact that he saved that machine, because sometimes you get a save when there's a bad moment on track for yourself. You get a save and you're just happy that you just survived, and that's what the 12 did right there, as he's now going to be passed by the 31 of Trey Jackson. As Jackson starts to roll forward, the 12 drops to 14th place, but up front, the driver that's feeling confident and comfortable, it's the man that always shines when it's the playoffs, Kyle McCoy. Zach, I mean, with seeing that of Cameron Sarton struggling, with Christopher Wade struggling, with Essery not even showing up, those are 3 very strong competitors out of this championship hopes. And for the 7, he's still going for his 4th championship in this series potentially.
Yeah, 3-time trying to turn into 4-time this season. And, I mean, if he was to do it this time, too, I mean, that would be 3 in a row, too. So, I mean, that would definitely be a great feat to pull off. And like you said, just the playoff time, it just seems like his car just comes to life. He just has a driver. When the pressure is there, it seems to make it a little bit better for that 7 machine. So definitely proving that so far here tonight, 70 laps into this event. And I'm interested to see when do we see pit stops, because like we said, we're about 30-35 laps past where we're in this run now. I'm interested to see when these guys will stop. I'm thinking around lap 100, most likely with about 50 to go. We might see some people elect to do it, but the thing is, with how much fuel and how far they can go on fuel, some people will be able to stretch it a lot farther. We may see some drivers take some risks.
Well, how many drivers could take a risk potentially here, as starting to see some drivers splitting up for one another, as we are now closing in on halfway. We are going to step aside here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, and you won't miss a thing as we go side by side here tonight at that of the Cyhawk 150 for the Stars and Stripes Cup Series. This is playoff action. It's the cutoff race here at Iowa. We had 12 entering. We'll have 8 exiting after tonight, and we'll be right back here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll take you to the end here at Iowa. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Stars and Stripes Cup Series here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. With me is Zach Hall, as well as Rob Moyer running the productions here this evening. And Zach, we come back at the perfect time. Drivers over the radio thinking about hitting pit road.
Yeah, definitely interesting calls here from a few drivers here coming down the pit road. So I was surprised to see a little bit earlier than maybe I would have elected to, but Dylan Glass seems to be the 16 machine. He's going to come down and be the first one to test those waters of new tires out there on the racetrack and see what he can gain. So, I expect maybe a few other drivers will, as a couple guys will come down and try to do a similar strategy a little bit early like this, but I expect most to stretch it here a little bit farther to see if they can get closer to about 50 laps to go.
This is the driver to watch out for over the radio. Derek Offerman stating he'll be hitting pit road here shortly, as well as other updates. We talked about that Doug Pierce struggling early going. He's been sitting in pit road and has called it a night. Cameron Sarton's already called it a night. And now newcomers, Christopher Wade, we just talked about before we went into commercial break, and now Ryan Lynch going to be done with their races this evening. As of Derek Offerman, Dylan Glass, they are done with pit road stops. They now hit the track. Same for Aaron Hale, as the four are going to be out on course. But Zach, always the looming question, when do you hit pit road? Is always the difficult time when you're under green flag conditions.
All of that, it definitely is. And I can tell you, confirm to you folks at home, that Derek Offerman, his race is pretty much done. He destroyed the rear end coming down the pit road. And that was one of the things some drivers talked about, is this entry to pit road. One of the toughest entries to pit road, the angle of it. It's so tight that you got to make the turn there that a lot of guys get very close to that wall. And I can confirm Offerman was on the brakes hard, lost the rear end, and slapped the rear those barrels with that rear of his car, and it completely knocked the rear end off the back of the car. I've never seen the rear bumper cover come off, and it completely took it off.
Yeah, a very odd moment to be seen there. Hopefully no other drivers have that type of a situation happen for themselves, as more drivers still trying to push their way forward, as passing up front is between 7th place runners, that of Thomas Ogle and Kyle Bowling between themselves, as we're on lap 91, closing in closer and closer to that lap 100, where we're expecting a lot of drivers to think about their pit stops to come into pit road, as Brian Burchett, after his stops, are out there on track.
Yeah, Nate Lynch also another early taker here on pit road in the 25 machine. So definitely a few drivers outside that top 10 electing to come here a little bit earlier, but watching this battle in here, it's Andrew Miller trying to hold back that 24 machine here for that 13th position as they continue to battle back here. But the one thing I have been watching is the lap times here between our top three guys have definitely been back and forth all over the place. A couple laps, Kyle McCoy will be a couple tenths slower than Dylan Grimm and Ross Tatum, who've been battling for second. But then a couple laps later, Kyle McCoy will be the fastest car on the racetrack. So it's definitely going back and forth, and just seeming if these drivers don't hit their marks right, it gets away from them.
Also, new thing that the drivers are dealing with, lap traffic, as they're trying to deal with getting by some of the drivers that have come into pit road and are dealing with some of that extra damage for themselves, as right now you see on screen the 24 trying to have a good run. That's Brian Lynch, 13th place currently, and having one of his better runs of the season. As the battling continues, the surge around for second place, that is where the battling is. As Dylan Grimm, Ross Tatum, they're trying to hold on the best that they can, as Jason Grant's closing in, but here comes the driver's already coming to pit road. Aaron Hale, he might try to push the buttons here and put it in the middle, and he does, through the middle, 3 wide, and there goes the 4, holding the middle ground.
Yeah, right down the middle with those new tires splitting. These two here racing for this second position, and great job by Ross Tatum there to hold that very, very bottom lane and still get the run off enough to get by Dylan Grimm here heading down into 1 and 2. So great run there for Ross Tatum. And the interesting thing too is, when we were under a commercial break there, he was about 2.5 seconds almost back from Kyle McCoy. Now going to be within a second and a half, and look behind him too. Dylan Grimm, he peels off the pit road. He's had enough.
Same for that of the 54 of Andrew Hess, going to be coming into pit road. And just like what we saw for the 20 of Derek Offerman, you can easily ruin your pit stop if you're not careful. 1, by hitting the barrels. 2, speeding into pit road. You don't want any type of penalties. It could be drastically hurting you, as into pit road going to be the 7 machine of Kyle McCoy, and Ross Tatum spins. Caution flag comes out.
This was the worst timing for a few drivers who've already hit pit road, and man, oh man, just like that, running in second place. it happens that easy, man. And I think Ross Tatum, he was looking to come to pit road. He got that left front on the apron, and from there, just lost that car.
And Zach, for Ross Tatum, that is a loss of control incident point that can be given to this 21 machine.
That it is. Loss of control for sure, and that's going to be a 2X. So guess what? No more 0 incidents for that 21 machine. He is now going to be losing those 5 bonus points, and that could be critical. I mean, you never know. Right here, he's lost a lot of track position. Also with this spin, he gets himself mired back here in this field. If he gets in trouble here now, losing those 5 bonus points, that could really hurt his night.
And what hurts that of Dylan Grimm is he's not going to be able to just take a wave around. He is going to get the lucky dog, so he'll be at the tail end of the field as drivers hit pit road. Kyle McCoy, Jason Grattan going to be your front 2 as they aim to make their perfect stop. And what this could be is our money stop of the race.
That it very well could be, Sam. And I tell you what, McCoy was coming to pit road that time. Both him and Tatum looking to get their cars down there. And, I mean, just a great job by Kyle McCoy to see that happening in his mirror. And right as soon as the yellow flag first popped up, he immediately went back right and missed pit road. So he could have been a driver coming down pit road. He probably would have just had to drive through and lost a lot of track position for it. Now going to be able to keep the lead with that quick reaction.
Out of pit road, Kyle McCoy, Brandon Pierce, Jason Grattan going to be falling back to 3rd place. Kyle Bowling up to 4th, Thomas Ogle 5th, Dylan Glass 6th, Ken Campbell 7th. And as the rest of the field comes on through, drivers now in a tricky spot. It's going to be our top 16 all on the lead lap. It's 17th on back, though, that are aiming for the wave around, where some of these drivers already made their stop and are going to be on older tires. And we'll see how well they can handle, as Nate Lynch, Aaron Hale, both going to be on extended old tires. But we look at some of our playoff contenders. Ross Tatum, the biggest loser of track position after spinning out, and we saw that in the early going of seeing drivers. That was one of our first cautions that came out. Our first caution that came out of Aaron Hale tapping the apron. Well, the 21 was just trying to get onto pit road and brought out the yellow by spinning out, just showing how dangerous the apron can be. Even when you're trying to slow down, it can strike back.
That it really can be, Sam. And also, with these guys driving these cars out here, the one adjustment we do have as drivers out there in our race car each and every night out there is brake bias. These guys race a fixed setup. You can't change any tire pressure. You can't change any wedge adjustments. Only thing we can change out there inside of our car is how we drive and that brake bias. And maybe Ross Tatum there cranking a little bit of rear brake bias into that car, helping the rotation on the entry, might have led to a little bit of that also with the factor of getting that left front on the apron. So it's tough to get to pit road. We talked about how hard it was all night long, and right there it comes back to bite one of our top contenders battling for a win.
Now going to be seeing how well he can move forward, as his strategy has been, but be up front and then fall back, get the better tires. And I would say, Zach, the 21 can't do that same strategy this go around. He's got to be aggressive and move up through the field before starting to try to save those tires, unlike what he was doing the last 2 times on fresh rubber, of falling back instantly and then making that charge back to the front. But up front for the drivers of Kyle McCoy, Brennan Pierce, Jason Grattan, also Kyle Bowley, Thomas Ogle, Ken Campbell, Scott Ricker, top 7, all playoff contenders. But the driver in 9th place, what a recovery run for Joshua Robinson, who needed to find a way to gain positions. And because he stayed out, that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, this is big for him. He stays out there, doesn't elect to go with that, aggressive, a little bit of an undercut strategy. And that really comes back to help him. I know he's had a tough night back there, really mired outside the top 15, but with that caution there coming out, it's really going to position him in a well spot here to start off in that night spot here when we go back green. And with track position can fix a lot of woes for you as a driver. It's tough to make passes. Sometimes you're just not quick enough to make those passes, but you're quick enough to hold people off. So Robinson, I think, will be looking to hold on to what he can, but he's also got to be careful looking to hold on to those 5 bonus points for the 0 incidents. So you never want to get too aggressive to make too much contact out there, but sometimes you got to do that there to hold on to these spots. But we'll see what goes on here in the final 50 laps.
Final 50 laps here this evening. Going to be 49 when we go green. Kyle McCoy, Brandon Pierce going to be the front runners. McCoy, he's found himself in victory lane here at this track back in season 1 when they were driving the ARCA cars back then. Well, it's been quite a while since he's won here at Iowa. Let's see if he can find himself back into victory lane as we are green here for that of the Cyhawk 150 into turn number 1. Front 2 look good. Front 4 all single file out. Or will they? As here comes the power of that of Brandon Pierce on the outside.
Yeah, and his 38 machine just powering to the outside of the 7 machines. He looks back to Jason Gratton and the 44 Kyle Bolin, last week's winner at Homestead. But it's side by side, Xing out a 4. But it's going to be the run from the top side of the 38. We've seen the 20. He's so strong up top with the 20 laps into the run. That's where it faded away. Brandon Pierce, though, he says, I'm using that top side to get the track position to see if he can get in a better spot.
In another round of seeing how the tires have evolved, how well you've been aggressive or too patient on these tires. Brandon Pierce obviously showing he might have been a little bit too patient in the early going as he gets aggressive. Jason Gratton right behind this 7 that we're riding on board with. He's trying to pick and choose. Does he follow in line or does he try to make the pass? As right now we hop on board the 91 who hits the bumps wrong and holds on for that of Jason Gratton.
Yeah, Jason Gratton needs a great run here tonight to put himself into that round of 8. Big mistake there, and look at this. Who's going to take advantage of it? It's going to be Ken Campbell on the outside in the 15. He's had a long night of trying to transverse through the field. Now up to the 4th position. Oh, contact to Ogle, and that makes the 91 get deep into the corner. Almost contact down there in the entry between the 15 and him. But they hold on to it off the exit of 2.
Pushing that again, Campbell even higher. Here comes Scott Rickard as well as Thomas Ogle. Ogle trying his best. He comes in that of 11th in points. He needed a great day for himself to be cracking inside of our top 8 to make it out into the next round after tonight. And tonight already starting to see a lot more playoff contenders up front putting the pressure on. Again, it's Ross Tatum that's outside of our top 10. He needs to start moving forward. With that, Cameron Sarton not been able to have a great run here this evening, only able to run just that of 3 laps. Then he's been in pit road ever since then, throwing away any chance of making it into the next round. And with Christopher Wade, one of the drivers outside looking in, having a poor run, it is wide open on who could be making it into our top 8 after tonight.
It really is wide open. Man, this is what makes you nervous with playoffs. You head into these 5-race playoffs where you got 2 races in each round to decide, going on to that final race there, that final 5th race for the final 4. It's really a pressure cooker, man. It really puts you into the moment of the mindset of where every single lap matters. It does not matter if you go out there and wreck it on lap 1. You got to go out there and focus and get back out there on lap 150 and make the most out of it, because that 1 point could come back to being the difference here of moving on to the round of 8 to have a shot at a championship here at Stars and Stripes.
There's a black machine of the 21 of Ross Tatum trying to figure out how to get by that of Philip Chavez and Nate Lynch, but currently right now kind of trapped. Also have that of Travis Dart who's going to be in front of them as they are trickling up, down, where to go. But up front, Brandon Pierce continues to hold on for the lead. But for how long will that work, as the 38 used a lot of his tires? And the driver that's on the move, that of Kyle Bowling, he could easily change up how this race concludes this evening by just getting a win. That would be stealing a lock-in position. It would be based off of points where Brandon Pierce is not in the most comfortable position if he falls back and does not win here tonight.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Sam. Kyle Bowling is in a great spot here to where he can risk a lot more. He's willing to go out here, maybe even make a mistake here, and have and still have that, locked in ability to go into the next round. That gives you a lot of confidence, in my opinion, as a driver, to go out there and try some different things. And right now, Kyle McCoy up front, I think he's seen this 44 coming. He knows he's got to get back out to that lead. And look, he jumps to the outside groove to get to the 38's outside. And we've got a battle for the lead on our hands.
That it is once again side by side, and Kyle McCoy trying to work on the outside lane. He's got a nose coming out of the corner, and he's also got the momentum. Going to be pulling away, but still at the inside quarter panel is going to be Pierce. He throws it all the way down, not able to really stick it on the yellow line, but able to clear, slides up, and able to hold on, just showing the strength the 38 still has in those tires, which is incredible to see as we are 15 laps into this stint for these tires. So drivers starting to feel that hurt in just 5 laps.
That they really are, Sam. And right here, Brandon Pierce fighting tooth and nail, trying to hold on to this position. And Kyle McCoy, he wants to get back out front. He wants to see the clean air. He wants to be able to drive away from these drivers behind him. As He's had a tough time, though. Brandon Pierce has fought super hard, but I think the great thing about Kyle McCoy, he stays calm, cool, and collected here and tries to reload and come back at this number 38 machine with whatever he's got left in these tires.
Interesting call. The 16, Dylan Glass, unscheduled pit stop for himself. And that could be a factor of drivers. Again, this run is going to be about that of 50 laps in total that they're going to have to put down on these tires. And for that of Dylan Glass, if this race stays green, he's hoping by coming into pit road, he's going to have just enough time to try to rip it around this course.
Yeah, he's definitely hoping for that for sure, Sam, to see if he'll be able to get back around, get back on that lead lap and get himself in position. But definitely an untimely pit stop there from that 16 machine as we ride on board here. Right behind Ken Campbell is Jason Gratton. He made that one mistake that slipped him back here to this 5th position, but he's been able to hold on here from the get-go. And I tell you, for him, he knows he's got to go out there and get every single point available. I wonder if Jason Gratton here is going to try to go up here and get a few more spots, but he can't look too far ahead because he's got some tough drivers behind him like Thomas Ogle.
Yeah, and Thomas Ogle is one of those drivers that can easily just push this 91 already. What Jason Gratton needs to do is win this race at this point. There's just not a big enough gap between the 91 and the 83, as well as having that of the 91 of Jason Gratton being also ahead of Cameron Sarton. There just isn't enough spacing in this current place where they run for this advantage to work out for that of Jason Gratton. He's going to need a little bit more help in assistance, but with Ross Tatum slowly marching his way forward, it's really looking like Thomas Ogle's in the only position to try to be one of the drivers outside of our top 8 to knock out Cameron Sarton from our top 8 when he came into this race.
Yeah, this is definitely been a very interesting night with things happening that we didn't expect to happen for sure. First off, Sarton coming to pit road right there at the beginning of the race, and then also Estrie missing. It's really turned everything upside down here heading into these final 30 laps.
And just got that report from Cameron Sarton in the chat about the fact no internet. He was hoping to use his hot spot to run a few laps, got a couple, and that was it. Now just banking on a miracle, and that certainly is what's out there on track at this current moment. Which honestly, if a late caution comes out and we see Jason Gratton and Thomas Ogle bang against one another, they both get taken out of this race. That's the miracle that 94 is looking for and could keep them in the playoffs.
You're exactly right, Sam. He's got 2 drivers that are looking to move themselves in. I mean, Christopher Wade, he's out of this race, so he doesn't have to worry about him. But if Ogle and Gratton get into it here, if they slide back too far, it very well could be what comes back to bite them and allows Cameron Sarton just to get in by that last position. And what a story that would be, because we know how strong that 13 can be. If he's there at the end of this season in the round of 8 and in that final 4, he is definitely a contender for the championship.
It is a 17-point difference between Cameron Sarton and Jason Gratton coming into this race, and then it is also a 12-point difference between Thomas Ogle and Cameron Sarton. That is not accounting for bonus points of the 0 incident points that both drivers are hoping to keep for themselves. But if they find themselves dropping for that of Thomas Ogle worse than 15th, that could be a way for Jason Gratton to still keep himself inside of our championship hopes. And also he's going to need Jason Gratton to finish worse than that of himself being in 12th. So that is a lot to ask, but certainly it's still possible, as we see here Joshua Robinson, a driver that is one of our bigger movers of the night, up 13 positions. He struggled in the first 40 laps to make any movement forward, but ever since then he's found his way up to the top 10.
That he really has, man. Track position, like I said, can fix a lot of things for drivers, and it's definitely helped that 30 machine. But I tell you what, the driver that's trying to make the rebound is behind this 31 machine. That's Ross Tatum there. He's back up to the 10th position after getting around Andrew Medlin, about 4.5 seconds off the lead. He's going to need some type of yellow here to get back in contention for the race win. But I tell you what, his speed and his long run speed, if he can just slowly, pick away at these lap times here, he can work his way back into that top 5, I believe.
As the laps continue to tick away, we're on lap 125, and now the question looms to see sparks flying off this course, as that is the 21 trying to stay on track. His internet just has been poor since the start of the race, yet still somehow on track. But across the line, we got 25 laps to go here, Zach. And still the window, it's usually 30 laps to 35 laps into a run. We start to see the rear end start to kick out a lot more for some of the drivers in the middle to further back in the pack. And we are now 5 laps away from that window opening up.
That we really are, and riding on board with King Campbell here, who's kind of been the driver that's been waiting in the background here in this 4th position. I'm kind of interested. King Campbell, always a great long run driver. Can he go up here and make some noise late in this race after having a terrible qualifying run? And especially after being the fastest driver in practice, I know he wanted to be able to put together a good qualifying lap. Wasn't able to do that with the mistake, and it really set him back here for this race. But he was able to climb his way forward here, and now closing in on these 2 drivers right ahead of him. But I'm seeing something out of that 7 that I'm not liking. He's starting to lose that rear end. The 38 starting to drive away. That clean air seeming to come back to be a very crucial thing.
To wait and loom to see what you're going to get here tonight. But I know one thing that you can get, and you can get it right now if you wanted to. That is merch here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, as we have our new merch brand here working at that of Store Frontier, where you can get your shirts, hoodies, and plenty of great other products, as we've got more in the works to be brought out, as you get many different colors and sizes that will fit you. And with our logo of Freaky Fast Broadcasting, rep the best broadcast team out there on iRacing, as we are now in our last push to see who will make it into the next round here for the Stars and Stripes Cup Series. This was the round of 12. Only 8 drivers make it out of this round. And Zach, we are now in the 21 laps to go marker.
That we are, Sam. Under 20 laps to go, or sorry, 21 laps to go there at that last time across the line. And oh no, big mistake from the 7 up front as we jump our camera up to him. He had a big slide down into turn number 1, and that's going to slot back this 7 back to the 4th position. And just like that, bowling up the 2nd, King Campbell up to 3rd. And now Kyle McCoy struggling too. He is looking to possibly lose more spots with that rear end all over the place. This could open up the door for Jason Gratton to gain those valuable points, along with Thomas Ogle right behind him.
But the big thing for Thomas Ogle and for that Jason Gratton, they need a massive loss by the 7. Again, that's only a couple of positions, and still the 91 and the 83 have not gotten by that of Kyle McCoy. But once they do, for Thomas Ogle, he needs to make sure that he's at least 9 positions ahead of this 7 machine. And then for Jason Gratton, he needs to be at least 12 positions over that of Kyle McCoy. So there's still a lot of wiggle room for the 7. Ooh. Oh no, not like that though. Spins around in front of the field. The bonus point now gets thrown away. The yellow flag comes out, and now our 3-time champ is in the wings of potentially being knocked out of the playoffs.
This just changed everything, and I tell you, I seen it happen in 5 laps ago. It just all went wrong for the 7. He just continued to get looser and looser as the run went on. He was pushing that car, trying to get on the 38, and it's all come back to bite him now as it slipped him back to around this 14th position, or sorry, 16th here when he crosses the line. This, late in the going, is not good for our defending series champion.
It just threw out a 9-position gap between that of Kyle McCoy and Thomas Ogle. That's not even accounting for the bonus point that drivers can get from a 0 incident point type of a race. And now the 7, he is exactly that of being 11 position difference from Thomas Ogle. And now drivers are coming in for their final set of tires.
Yeah, that 0 incident bonus, that could come back to being the make or break here for a few guys. I looked at Kyle McCoy there. He's going to have time here to gain some spots back and hopefully get himself in a better position. But the thing is also, with how short a run we're about to have here, everybody taking their last set of tires, this is going to be an interesting run. Nobody really probably going to be saving anything. It's going to be more aggression being shown. There could be some definite tempers flaring.
I'm looking at the board, saying would anyone be willing to risk a 2-tire stop? As the majority of the field going to go with 4 tires for themselves, taking off, rolling, and it's going to be seen that of Brandon Pierce taking the lead with Kyle Bowling in 2nd place, and also going to be seeing Ken Campbell up to that of 3rd. As Dylan Glass going to be falling behind, as he's going to be the driver getting the the lucky dog for himself. As this is going to reset, try it again, 3rd caution of the night. And now the drivers get to try to see who is going to be making it into the playoffs. And Zach, at this point, the gloves are off. You've got to grab every position possible, but At the same time, those bonus points, those 5 bonus points are so necessary. Is it even worth trying to push someone out of the way to throw away 5 bonus points?
Yeah, I mean, if it's not the win, then no, because one position, 1 point. If you give away the 5 bonus points for one position, that math does not add up. I know that, and I'm not the greatest at math, so I tell you, it definitely gives you those feelings of, man, what do I do as a driver? I got to go out there, maybe gain the spots that I need here to get into the playoffs. But if I risk too much, get a little bit of contact, it could come back to really be the thing that knocks me out of it, actually. So, so many different things going through the minds, I think, of these drivers. Kyle Bolin has got to be the driver that's saying, man, I'm glad I won last week because everything's up in the air now.
As the positioning's coming into the night, again, that of Cameron Sarton running does not have the internet to continue to run here tonight. He finds himself 27th position, but he only had a 17-point gap lead over that of Jason Grattan. So with where that of Cameron Sarton runs at this current moment in 27th, he's going to need a major incident to happen to that of Thomas Ogle and Jason Grattan if he's going to make it into the next round. And at this point, it's still very possible, but both those drivers needing to have those bonus points if they want to find themselves pushing out the 3-time champ.
Yeah, that they are. They're going to need a lot there for that. And, the question is there is because, Jason Grattan and Thomas Ogle, they both probably feel good about how they've ran tonight. Both right on the fringe of the top 5 and keeping it up there for most of the night. But with how close it was between those two, Grattan has to put a sizable gap between Ogle if McCoy pushes himself back in. So it really changes the scenario each and every lap with how the points change. But if McCoy has another mistake, slips farther back, it opens up the door for both of them to get in. So, man, there's so many things still yet to play out. But with 14 laps to go, I'm so excited to see how this all shakes out. It's been a wild one so far, and while we're under this third caution tonight, we might as well hit our last sponsor of the night, and that is the Admin Box, folks. If you haven't checked them out yet, make sure you do. One of the best button boxes out there in iRacing. Built by iRacers for iRacers. That not only gives you the driver functionality, like I say all the time, as most button boxes do, but it gives you that race control functionality, which gives you the race control at your fingertips. So make sure you head on over to adminbox.com, use our discount code FFB/BOXX, and get a discount at purchase.
Well, the stage is now set. It's going to be 13 laps to go. Who is making it out of the round of 12 and entering the round of 8? Up front, Brandon Pierce, Kyle Bolin. Bolin's the only one that's comfortable. He knows he's locked in with his win last week at Homestead. Everyone else, unknowing of where they're going to be as we are back to Green Flag Racing here at the Cyhawk 150. Pierce is gone, and Zach, now the true question, who's saving and who's sending it?
That it definitely is. I think the saving has got thrown out the window for a lot of these drivers, but a lot of them know they're still in a good spot to move on if they make no mistakes. So I'm questioning, how hard does the 91 go? How hard does a few of these drivers who are closer to that cut line like Ken Campbell go? Because Ken Campbell knows he's in a good position right now, but if anything happens, he could be easily out of it.
A lot of our playoff drivers are up inside of our top 10, except for one. That is the 7 machine of Kyle McCoy that's on track running at least. For that, Cameron Sarton, he needs a massive wreck from the 83 and the 91, who are racing right next to one another. But the 7, Zach, he's boxed in. He needs to get to that outside lane and start ripping the top if he wants to get up front.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, Sam. I think a few guys need to go back to the Derek Offerman strategy. Go up to the wall, use the tires here. We've seen how Offerman got to that lead. He was able to hold it for 15 laps or so. If they can do that here, they got plenty of time for them to hold off. But now I think we'll see who's the first one they elect to go up there, as everybody, I think, has turned up the wick on the bottom also. So I don't think that top side is going to be as good as what it looked like.
As you see the 66, that's John Dart, who went with a 2-tire strategy. He's staying on the outside. That's the best place for him to be, but Zach on a track, old tires, it made these cars so loose. I'm surprised the 66 is holding on for now, but for the lead, Kyle Bolin takes that lead position, or will he, as it's side by side, ripping the tops, the 44.
What momentum this 44 could carry if he goes out and gets another victory. This would be still in straight win from Pierce. And look at this, around the outside, Pierce gets loose. The 44 up the racetrack, though. They're still going to be side by side off 2 with the run going to the 38.
That outside lane just getting a little bit too close to that outside wall. Had to back out of it on the exit, but coming to 8 laps to go when they cross the line. Your front runner is going to be the 44 of Kyle Bowling. Brandon Pierce going to be in second. Pierce takes that lap for himself as the 44 trying his best, trying to follow the same script that Kyle McCoy has done for the past couple of seasons. Dominate the playoffs, win practically every single playoff race, keep that momentum high, and you can find yourself hoisting a trophy at the end of the season. But as this battling's happening, a driver that's found himself in a victory lane here in past seasons, it's that of Scott Rickard in 4th place. He's starting to make that inside lane work.
Side by side, 2 rows deep here, man. Can Bolden get the run off of turn 2? I think there Pierce clears him there for the 38. He holds on to the lead, and there Ken Campbell holds on to that 3rd position. But, man, can Bolden go back at him here? We're coming to 6 to go, but here comes Ken Campbell.
And the real question now starts to loom. If that of Thomas Ogle and Jason Gratton both still have that 0 incident bonus point for themselves at the end of the race, where Kyle McCoy runs, the 3-time champ could be knocked out. He's still trapped back in 14th and 15th place.
Yeah, he is trapped right now, Sam. That is a great way to put it, man, because he's behind the 31, Trey Jackson, who's battling with Andrew Medlin. He hasn't been able to really get any momentum going to get forward, and it shows you right here when nobody's saving, it's so much harder to pass. Everybody using every little bit of the tires, going as fast as they possibly can. It shows you, even though you've been quick out front all night, the competition level here very stiff.
That bonus point is still there for that of Vogel and Gratton. Kyle McCoy needs to move up and be within 4 positions of both drivers. Otherwise, he's going to be in a position to be knocked out. So that means he needs to move up and get at least up to 10th or 9th place to make sure that Kyle McCoy stays in the playoff hunt. But again, still stuck in that 14th. He has not been moving forward at all. But with 4 laps to go, our top 5 all in line and trying to pull away from the rest of the field.
Oh, man, so much tension out there on the racetrack for so many different drivers here. But as they come to 3 to go, Brandon Pierce just wants to go out there, get a 2nd win, and that would give him the momentum heading into Dover and Atlanta. But right now, it's single file for our top 5. But the one driver that's really having to make the move, it's Kyle McCoy, who's not getting it done. He's actually loose on the back straightaway, losing more spots.
Losing more spots, and as we're coming to 2 to go, Zach, we potentially could be having that of Chris Essery. He's out of this thing. Our points leader out of the regular season out. Cameron Sarton, one of our heavy favorites coming into the season, he could be out of the playoffs. And the 3-time champ, he could be out of the playoffs as well. 2 to go, and Brandon Pierce leading the way into turn number 3.
Yeah, Brandon Pierce just wants to see that white flag here as he comes out of 4. I think he will get to see it.
White flags in the air. Caution flag nowhere to be seen. This is your freaky fast white flag. And what a round number 12 we have. 4 drivers going to be eliminated after tonight. And 3 of the 4 were drivers that were heavy favorites to make it to our final 4. But tonight, the rookie, Brandon Pierce, he leads the way with the driver that is hunting with the most momentum, the 44 of Kyle Bowling. Give it to the 38 and say goodbye potentially to Kyle McCoy, Cameron Sarton, and many more from the playoffs.
I am lost for words, folks. This right here sets up a round of 8, possibly, if we're correct about that, with those 3 drivers being knocked out. We know 2 of them for sure are, along with Christopher Wade. But, man, what a crazy night. And Brandon Pierce, out of nowhere, steals the win here in the last 50 laps of this race.
Again, this is unofficial. We're going to have to wait for a little while before we get those official numbers on who's in, who's out. But with that race being over, Zach, we do have the ability now to check incident points to see who has them and who doesn't. And based off the drivers that really need those incident point bonus points, again, that is going to be Thomas Ogle and Jason Gratton. They need those bonus points. Right now, Jason Gratton looks to be having one of those bonus points for himself. The question is now is for Thomas Ogle, did he get a bonus point for himself to make sure that he's good into the next round? And it does. Both of those drivers that needed to have caution and incident point free nights, they did. This is wide open, Zach, on who's in and who's out of the playoffs.
That it really is. And also you gotta look at Jason Gratton. He led a lap earlier in this race too, so that even opens up a door for him to get more bonus points. I'm telling you, folks, like Sam said, we're not gonna know here until we get official confirmation, but I think it's gonna be super close with that cut.
Well, we do know two drivers. That is Kyle Bowling and Brandon Pierce. Both are locked into the round of 8. Who's going to be in the 6 final spots? We'll let you know as we come back to the Freaky Fast Broadcasting post-race show. We'll be back in just a few as we get to talk to also Ken Campbell, Kyle Bowling, and Brandon Pierce, your top 3 of the night. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We're still waiting on the official numbers on who's in and who's out from moving from the round of 12 to the round of 8, but we do have our top 3 and have conversations with them here this evening. We're going to start things off with the 15 machine of Ken Campbell and get his thoughts on how tonight went. Sorry, Ken, for pulling you away from that conversation, but man, we got to get your thoughts on tonight here at Iowa. What a race it was, and how are you feeling with the pressure, knowing that you're one of the drivers that I would believe should be good to move on to the next round?
Relieved more than anything. Coming into qualifying, I was running high out of 4 on my first lap and tagged the wall, and so it invalidated that lap, and I was slower starting my second lap. So qualified in the back, and I was like, all right, yeah, this isn't exactly the start that I wanted. And then was just kind of riding around in the back, trying to save tires. I knew tires were going to be a big thing, and I was going to let the guys go and let them come back to me, and somehow they weren't moving forward, right? I was maintaining even while saving tires, and so things were just kind of working out, and just kind of picking my spots as I was moving up through the field, trying to save as much tire as I could.
Yeah, definitely, Ken. I tell you what, great run for yourself, man, to bring it home in this 3rd spot here and looking to move yourself into that round of 8, man. I mean, tonight was definitely, like you said, a relief for yourself here after this 3rd place finish. And, we talked about a lot tonight, the 0 incident 5 points bonus. That I think was probably on a lot of drivers' minds. Take us through it all night. How careful you probably were trying to keep that incident free.
Oh, yeah, I usually pinch people when I'm on the outside and run up and try to get as much track position, lean on them if you can. But knowing how close the points were, and with the bonus, the 5 point bonus, I mean, it's like 2.5 positions, right? And so I was given room everywhere, and it was like just kind of riding around. Please don't hit me. And I think that actually helped me save even more tire because there were a couple times I was like, hey, I need to go. And I was like, yeah, but if I do, it might push 3 wide. We might have a little bit of contact. And I think we'll still be able to go. But those 5 points were on my mind the entire time.
Well, Ken, we go from now this round. Zach and I, mainly myself, was just saying this is more of a traditional round with Homestead and Iowa. We now go into the chaos round, Dover and New Atlanta. That's a super speedway. How are you feeling about this next round, or is there any way to prepare for this next round?
Really, I don't know. I mean, I'm usually pretty good at Dover in concrete tracks, but a lot of the guys are. And so I think regardless, if you don't get wrecked out at Dover and you don't win, the points are going to be so tight that going into New Atlanta, who knows? I've never driven the track, but I do love super speedways and that style of racing. But that lends itself to the big one like Talladega, and you get taken out, last race. And so I think the way to play it is to prepare for Dover and win Dover, and then you don't have to think about Atlanta.
Seems like a pretty solid way to go. Well, Ken, before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
First and foremost, as always, thank you to my wife and kids for supporting me in everything that I do, sim racing included. My mom and sister for watching the broadcast. My nephew Lawson is picked it up, and he's a NASCAR fan now, so appreciate his support. And my buddy James tuning in as well. Everybody at Storm Motorsports, it was a rough team night with internet issues going in and out, but Wade and Marty, who wasn't able to make it tonight, and Ross, fantastic group of guys to drive with. Team sponsor BG Construction, car sponsors Under Armour and Netflix. Will Bustler for making sure I look good out on track. If you want to paint and look as good as I do, hit him up. Everybody in the league, it's fantastic racing. Such a fun time to come out on Thursday nights and race. And you guys up in the booth.
That is going to be the 15 machine of Ken Campbell. Ken, congratulations again on making it to the next round, and good luck in that next round for yourself.
Appreciate it, boys.
As we go from third place, we'll head to second place as Ken Campbell was our biggest mover of the night, up 21 positions. We've got the driver that secured his spot last week. Kyle, you're the one driver that came in tonight knowing that you were safe, but after tonight, you now have to reset. How was it racing out there at Iowa this evening?
Did not start like I thought this was, not like it finished, obviously. Starting back in 14th, I was kind of worried it was going to be a bad night with how tight the setup was, and I'm not really much for tight setups, but kind of got it figured out, had the right brakes roll my way, and somehow I got up here second again. I don't know how.
Yeah, Kyle, I tell you what, man, definitely building up some good runs here in this first round of the playoffs after that win last week at Homestead. How do you feel heading into Dover and Atlanta, though? Because that is definitely the wild card situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much all the work I've done in this round kind of goes away, but, I've gone into this one where I was bottom of the barrel anyways with this, so, getting into the second round was already kind of a win, given most of the season I've had. So yeah, I really no pressure. Dover, Atlanta. It's if I get through that final four, it means I did something good, and if I didn't, then I think successful season given the turnaround I've had.
I have to say that as well. I mean, you've done a great job with how this season started for yourself to where you are now with a win and these consistent runs that are showing up. This has been a great recovery. But Kyle, before we let you go this evening, the floor is yours for any shout outs.
Well, thanks to you guys for putting on a good broadcast. Thanks to McCoy and the Lynches for putting up money tonight. I'm sure they didn't absolutely enjoy the Nebraska car beating them all, but nonetheless, it was fun running that car tonight, and yeah, that's all I got.
That is going to be the 44 machine of Kyle Bowling getting himself second place finish and moving on to the next round. Congratulations and good luck next week.
Yeah, thanks.
As we now go to a driver that finds himself back into victory lane. He did it earlier in the season. Well, you could say now he's a two-time winner. We've got that of Brandon Pierce with us. Brandon, you had so much speed in the early going. How was it, though, ripping it at the end, knowing that we only had just that of 14 laps to go and a lot of hungry drivers behind you?
It's always tense. You get a short track with only a few laps. Guys that are hungry, they're going to be braking a little bit later. Everybody's getting on the gas a little bit sooner. Thought I threw it away there when I hit the apron, but was able to get back in front of Bolin there. So I was pretty happy about that. A lot of fun racing these guys side by side up there for the front. Fresh tires, Iowa. You can't ask for much more. It's a great race.
Yeah, Brandon, I'd say what a great run for yourself tonight, man. Kept yourself in that top 5 for majority of the night there, but seems like late in the going, once you got to the lead, something changed there, man, for your 38 machine. How was that clean air?
I mean, clean air was awesome. We saw McCoy there pull away on that first long stint, being out in front in the clean air. It's a bit easier to save your tires when you get to run your own race, right? You don't have to react to the guy in front of you, check up in the corner. You can let the car roll no matter what. And all that plays a part. So I had a feeling clean air was pretty important. I lost the rear tires there on that first run. So able to play with the brake bias, drive it a bit harder to use a bit more right front early. Was able to get to the outside of McCoy and get by him and never gave it up.
Well, now we're heading into the wild card round, Dover and Atlanta. How are you feeling about these next couple of races that are coming up to set you up for the Final Four?
I feel better about Dover than Atlanta. Dover, I imagine, is going to play out a lot like here. Save your tires, have something there at the end, put yourself in a good spot to have a shot late in the race, late race restart. Atlanta, super speedway racing. I mean, anything can happen. It is truly a wild card. I don't have the best of luck at those, so going to hope to not have to rely on it, but we'll see.
Well, congratulations there, Brandon, on this win and moving on to the next round. The floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Big shout out to Triad Racing Enterprises, Sousa Media, Stint Analyzer, all the guys on the team do a real good job making sure that we come prepared, get speed, and improve our driving every week. Admins for putting on this great league, you guys for broadcasting, and let us do what we do.
And thank you for giving us a great show to cover. That is going to be your winner this evening at that of the Cyhawk 150. It's Brandon Pierce getting it done. Congratulations and good luck next week for the next round of the playoffs.
Thanks, guys. Look forward to talking to you again.
As we go from victory lane, we take a look at our unofficial results here this evening. It was aggressive racing all over the place. And Zach, I mean, I don't think any of us really truly knew who was going to win this race. At times, we saw that of Kyle McCoy up front. We saw that of Derek Offerman up front leading this race. But at the end of the day, it's the 38 of Brandon Pierce finding himself in victory lane. Then it's Kyle Bowling going to be in second, Ken Campbell third, Scott Rickard in fourth, Thomas Ogle fifth, sixth goes to Jason Gratton, Joshua Robinson gets seventh. I mean, that's 7 of our 12 playoff drivers that we're running here tonight, all in our top 7, with Dylan Grimm in 8th. 9th goes to Andrew Medlin, and Rod Statham coming away with the top 10. When we look at the rest of the field, there's some drivers with some hurt feelings further on down.
Yeah, definitely, for sure, man. Definitely, you got to feel for Cameron starting there with the internet connection. First of all, knocking him out early in this go. And Christopher Wade, pretty much similar thing. Both those drivers 26th and 27th, man. So, tough night for them. They're going to get knocked out of the playoffs from that. But I tell you what, from what we've heard, Kyle McCoy there finishing 13th and getting that final spot, by 100th of a second over Trey Jackson side by side coming in line. I think that's what's going to actually allow our 3-time champion to go on and compete for a 4th one.
Yeah, it was a very close hunt to the end on how drivers are going to make it into the playoffs. We already knew, based off of that of Chris Essery not showing up and the poor runs at the end of the day for Cameron Sartin and for Christopher Wade, that both had to call it an end to tonight's race early. It was a wild card on who was going to get bumped into the playoffs. Well, we already know 2 drivers that were locked in. That was Kyle Bowling, Brandon Pierce. Ross Tatum had a great recovery run. He'll be pointing his way into the next round. Josh Robinson had to work his way through the field. He'll be pointing his way in the next round. Scott Rickard was so consistent last week and this week. He's in the next round. Same for Ken Campbell, and driver making it his way into the next round. Based off of points, it's Thomas Ogle and Zach by a tiebreaker. Based on the most wins this season, Kyle McCoy beats out Jason Gratton, who Gratton, got to give big kudos. That 91 did everything he could to make sure he could go into the next round. It was just 1 position off from doing it.
Yeah, man, going to come up 1 position off there, tied in points, and 2 wins away from another tiebreaker being broken with, McCoy. Only 1 win away because McCoy only has 2 wins this season. So, I mean, that right there is a heartbreaker for Jason Gratton, who fought hard all night long. But a sigh of relief for our champion Kyle McCoy. I mean, I thought for moments he wasn't going to be able to compete for another one, but now these drivers all got to be thinking, well, we didn't get rid of the 3-time champion. We're going to have to fight him all the way down to the end, it seems.
They were doing a great job holding them outside of the top 14 and top 15 for the majority of that late run, but it just was not enough. The 3-time champ stays in the hunt for his 4th championship this season. Well, that shows you playoff action is wild, it's rampant, and here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, the most of our leagues that we cover are in the playoff hunt, and it has been a blast to see all these seasons coming to where they're at, but cannot wait to see more of this amazing action. And guess what? We got more races even coming into this weekend. We got tomorrow off here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, but we're right back to giving you coverage for the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series as they have their first playoff race at Zarlington, which will be one of their longest races of the season. Cannot wait to give you that coverage on Saturday night. Then we have Sunday off, but we're right back to playoff coverage. That is on Monday for the ISRC Truck Series. Tuesday, still regular season racing for the Full Send Racing Series, but then it's the first playoff race as well for Wicked Racing on Wednesday, and then we're right back here for our first race of the round of 8 for the Stars and Stripes Cup Series. Zach, we got plenty of racing action, and what a month to be watching Freaky Fast Broadcasting.
Yeah, it's the month of playoffs, man, and folks better be enjoying it because it's going to be wild. I tell you, I've enjoyed every bit of the start of our playoffs here with Stars and Stripes, and I can't wait for the rest of our series also to get themselves rolling into that. So it's going to be fun to watch. And then even you got the round of 8 coming up for these guys with Dover and Atlanta. I mean, that's going to be super exciting. Never know what's going to happen there, especially heading into Atlanta with that cutoff race. So can't wait for that. Can't wait for some more playoff action to build up here on Freaky Fast. And if you haven't yet, folks, make sure you hit that subscribe and bell notification button so you can be right along with us for our ride.
And we cannot wait to take you for the rest of this one. It's been a blast to give you the coverage of the round of 12 here for the Stars and Stripes Cup Series. Well, we will be right back here next week, same time, same place, for the round of 8 on Freaky Fast Broadcasting for the Stars and Stripes Cup Series Season 5. Who's getting the championship? Well, let's find out, as it is going to be a blast to cover. But for tonight, thank you for watching the Iowa Speedway with us here with myself, Sam Dyer, with Zach Hall, and as well Robert Moyer Jr. running productions this evening. And a big thanks to everyone else that helps out at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We hope to see you next week for playoff coverage. And if we don't, hey, hopefully you'll slide on by to Saturday night to watch some WSSR playoff racing action for themselves. But for tonight, thank you again and have a safe one. We'll see you on our next broadcast.